Ladies and gentlemen, this is Truth's Tactician, Mr. G Coalition, brother number 17, looking fresh, staying clean, ready to talk about professional wrestling. Before I talk about, actually no, I mean not even say before I talk, because I'm not even trying to get into freaking segues and misdirections and little off-topic things to prelude this video. Actually freaking get on the ball, because this is my first time trying to do videos again since freaking, I don't know, from Crown Jewel last year. I've been hanging out in people's comment sections, whether it's pro wrestling, basketball, gaming, shit like that. I've been hanging around a lot of religion even. And did I do much in terms of politics? I don't remember. Anyway, that's just me hanging out in people's comment sections. But I'm ready to freaking go back and doing topical videos again. I tried to do a review of freaking WrestleMania 40, but I ended up not being the freaking software was giving me too many headaches, and it was taking too long to convert and load and all that. So I wasn't able to. So it would have been out of place by the time I got it done. So I ended up not doing it in the end. But that just kind of brings me to kind of my resolution on that. Doing reviews and shit is not my forte. Topical videos is what I should be hitting on, especially when it comes to things going around, especially when we have topics to talk about in the professional wrestling business. But I'm not, in this one, I'm going to go to a topic that's kind of been, I'm not going to say near and dear to my heart, but it's kind of been grinding my gears a little bit. It's been annoying my ass a little bit long for quite a minute, ever since WrestleMania. Because AJ Styles got a new theme song that debuted at WrestleMania. He specifically requested it because the song that he had been using at that time, which I'm going to freaking have my thoughts on in a bit, the song that he'd been using at that time, been using for pretty much the whole 8 years he's been in WWE up until this point, was no longer fitting the character that he was going with at the time. With the new heel turn and the bitter trip in the feud with LA Knight, it was no longer fitting for him to use the song that he was using before, so he requested a new change. And then as soon as we got that new change, everybody started freaking flipping their fucking shit. Everybody was going around saying, oh my god, these guys suck. Def Rebel is terrible. They're the worst thing ever. We need to freaking get rid of them. We need to fight. And here's the deal. Okay, I understand. They haven't exactly been up to the Jim Johnston standard. We already know this. It's pretty freaking obvious. They've kind of got a little too comfortable with doing preset, with supposedly preset trap beats. And it's gotten to a point where it's been hard to, where at the Royal Rumble, for example, it was hard to distinguish who was coming out to what themes. Okay, I can get that. That's a thing that y'all got to work on. That's 100% true. But let's not fucking act like it hasn't been this way even before they fucking came along. And let's also not act like they were this bad from the start. If we want to use that particular point of view about Def Rebel being terrible. But the real linchpin, the real major deal, what was a trigger point to where everybody all of a sudden was freaking saying, well, not everybody, but a whole bunch of people who were all of a sudden oh my god, these people suck, they need to be fired, was that AJ Styles theme song. I got a couple problems with that. Number one, we're pretending that Def Rebel, number one, were always where they are now, and number two, that they were the ones who broke the code, that they were the ones where the standard dropped. No, the standard dropped when Jim Johnston was gone. The standard dropped when CFOs came along after the Tonight is the Night entrance song, no, not entrance song, the intro song for Monday Night Raw, and then all of a sudden, under the name Chrome Static, then they got the full brand CFOs and ended up becoming the dudes who did regular theme songs. And it ended up being, and we got the Tyson Kidd theme. This is where I remember where the drop off started, where I truly said, okay, now we're hitting okay. I felt like Jim Johnston was being a little overly experimental with the last few years of his themes. But this right here is proof that we have now hit a low, that the standard has fallen and we're about to hit lows. When Tyson Kidd's theme song was first released through the Entrance Titantron video posted by WWE on their channels. And I thought, oh my God, if the song, and it was like 1:30. And I was like, okay, this sounds like the beginnings of one of the most epic fucking themes in WWE history. And if this is the kind of shit that these guys are putting forth for effort for a mid-carder, then hell yeah, I'm gonna fucking love what these guys do. What happened when the song got fully released? Was it a full song? No. It was literally that same first verse on loop multiple fucking times, over and over and over again. And it's like, y'all were cooking. Y'all stopped? That was where the standard first fell. We're talking about a mid-carder though, right? Okay, let's skip fast forward about a year or two later. When the Shield broke up and Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins both got their separate music made by CFOs, while Roman Reigns kept the Jim Johnston special op from the Shield, just remixed a little bit, remastered it to the Truth Reigns. Seth Rollins' fucking theme. A wicked guitar and drum beat, for sure. Lasted 20 seconds. Then music entirely stops. I could get the music, the first stop was of course the intro with the freaking blaring siren, with the warning siren. But then the song continues and it's constantly 20 seconds stop, 20 seconds stop, 20 seconds stop, and never fucking got into a full groove. Never had never got a real bass line to speak of that was in any way distinct from their guitar. So it felt like an incomplete theme that they just, okay, we're going to do lazy stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And speaking of lazy stop, start, Dean Ambrose's fucking theme was garbage in that regard. They literally only bothered to try the first go of it for like 25 seconds. And then it's like the freaking, it wasn't like a complete music stop for Ambrose's version. It was the freaking motorcycle rev. It didn't even bother to actually go through and try to create full crafted melodies in any way similar to what Jim Johnston did for two guys in Ambrose and Rollins who were not only told but also shown, and it also actually comes to pass, that these two motherfuckers are going to be two of the top guys in the generation that's supposed to be captained by Roman Reigns. And yeah, that is exactly what happened. But their fucking theme music, compared to the theme music of guys from the past, compared to a Triple H, a Chris Jericho, a Rock, an Austin, an Undertaker, a Kurt Angle, a damn near anybody. There was no flow or melody or anything to the fucking shit that Ambrose and Rollins got to work with. It was nothing. It was nothing. It was noise that sounded like it was coming towards something great, but then stopped. Whether it stopped because, in Rollins' case, it stopped with nothing. In Ambrose's case, it stopped with this stupid ass motorcycle rev. And I say stupid ass because when you hear it every 20 seconds, or worse, when they redid the fucking song with half the melody just in different tones every 10 seconds, it's terrible. Literally cut them out. At the very least, those two songs, at the very least, had twice too many stops that they should have. Could have been good or great to listen to on a regular basis if they had just cut down the amount of stops they did. The amount of freaking stops. Yeah. So hearing those fucking themes for Ambrose and Rollins compared to what that they would have gotten 2 or 3 years earlier. Trash. Garbage. If anything, people should have been saying, and the fact, I think a lot of people at that time were saying that because we did understand that the standard had fallen off. But over time, I think we got used to CFOs, and they did get better. I'm not gonna lie, they did get better at a lot of what they did. They did come out with some banger tracks. Yeah, they did come out with freaking Shinsuke Nakamura's The Rising Sun, for example. Sasha Banks' Sky's the Limit. Becky Lynch, Celtic Invasion. I could go on and try to make a more extensive list, but those are the three main ones at the top of my head that are like, okay, these guys actually. Bobby Roode, Glorious Domination, even though that could have used a little bit more sprucing up in terms of like making the loops sound less repetitive, but it still was an epic melody. You had a bunch of, and here's the thing that is actually coming to my mind. Rebel Heart with Gargano, No One Will Survive with Ciampa. Even freaking Finn Balor's Catch Your Breath. It's like, these are freaking 30 to 40 to 50, 50 seconds of effort. Some of it was shit that's lyrical. Like, okay, y'all can't even bother to actually put more than a minute of effort into lyrical songs, bro. Like, it sounds banger when these guys are coming out to it with the limited entrance set on NXT. But what happens when they try to come out to that shit at WrestleMania? What happens when they fucking hit on a WWE main event segment, not the show main event, but an actual main event on Raw or SmackDown, and they're the ones freaking closing the show with their music coming off the air after a replay and celebration and this, that, and the third? How many times are we going to hear literally the exact same lyrics over and over and over again before we fucking get sick of it? They freaking... And what if their entrance plays through a commercial break? Now, I think we found out that, like, they actually do shit in between commercial breaks, so it's not the same music playing over and over and over. But if it was, it would piss these people off to be hearing the same exact thing with no point to it. It would piss the people in if it was like that. And there's also the fact that we're fucking releasing these shits as singles for public consumption, which means people are going to freaking try to play that shit at parties. People are going to try to play that shit at clubs. People are going to try to play that shit in gyms when they're working out, depending whichever one is which, depending on the situation, depending on the actual vibe or tempo of the song or the pitch or the character. Depending on what the song is, they're going to try to freaking play it in outside situations when they freaking release that shit out there. And how the fuck is that going to work? If you literally, like, this is supposed to be a thing with lyrics implying that it's a full song, but it's literally the same fucking lyrics on loop from 30 seconds, 40, 45 seconds over and over and over again. This is the shit that CFO started. They started it. They were the ones that broke the code first. That's the thing I'm trying to put in people's heads right now. Def Rebel, yeah, okay, they do a little bit more of a better job of filling out songs to where it doesn't feel as loopy, but even they fucking do the same bullshit sometimes. So that's exactly why I'm pointing at. I'm not over here. When I'm saying what I'm saying, I'm not saying this shit to defend Def Rebel or to claim that Def Rebel are somehow these great artists that can do no wrong. I'm not on that train. I'm not a fucking nut hugger for Def Rebel, but I'm seeing people being nut huggers for CFOs pretending that it's they're different. But here's the problem. Def Rebel's better at filling shit out, but the CFOs is better at making shit a little bit more distinct. But they're both far below the fucking standard that Jim Johnston set. And people don't want to fucking recognize that it's the same fucking, to different degrees on different ends, but it's the same fucking shit. Y'all fell below the standard. Y'all fell below the Jim Johnston standard. The freaking Jimmy Hart and JJ Maguire standard if we're going to go to the days before fucking Jim Johnston, or if we want to go to WCW. And hell, how about even freaking Dale Oliver from TNA I would take over any of these people. No lie. No cap. Why do I say this? Let's go back to the trigger point. The phenomenal AJ Styles. I've heard what Dale Oliver did for him with all the I Am versions, and especially Get Ready to Fly, the one that stood the test of time, featuring the Christian rappers Grits. I've heard the songs that AJ came out to after he left TNA and became part of the Bullet Club. New Japan's Styles Clash and the licensed song that ROH used by freaking Lab Rats and Slim Jim called Demigods. I heard those songs. I've heard this music. I've heard what AJ Styles comes out to. Those songs have fire. Those songs have energy. Those songs have a point. Whether it's about grit or glory or whatever. Those songs feel like AJ Styles at whatever point he is in his career when they're made. Then he comes to WWE and gets phenomenal by CFOs. and it's low energy compared to literally all three of all of the shit that I just named. It starts with basically a Southern church hymn organ as an intro. It has hook and it has banger sound effects. I get that. But what's the actual content besides that? 4 bars, followed by the chorus, followed by 4 bars, followed by the chorus. And the whole thing lasts about 50 seconds. And the 4 bars, or the 8 bars, I should say, the 4 and the 4, are all about him being a redneck. Yo, AJ is way more than just a fucking redneck. Yeah, okay, his southern roots, his accent, we get it. It's part of him, but it's not the front and center. It's not the defining trait. Oh, I'm a southerner. I'm a redneck. He's not wearing a traditional redneck gimmick. His gimmick is not the super redneck AJ Styles. His gimmick is not corn-fed country boy AJ Styles. His gimmick is the phenomenal AJ Styles. What does that mean? That means his athleticism, his athletic ability, his competitive drive, his spirit, his grit, I don't know, how do I put this? Who he is as a competitor, as a wrestler, is second to none. That's what phenomenal means, right? That's what it means to call him the phenomenal AJ Styles. It's about his drive and his talent and his grit and his desire to be the best. But those lyrics are all about him being a redneck. His best stories. Look at who he was with when it came to TNA and Christian's Coalition. Yeah, okay, that was the closest you got to the freaking redneck hillbilly side of AJ. And yeah, it played to the whole humor thing and being kind of the little brother to Christian Cage, and then kind of a muppet when Karen seduced him and got him to be with Kurt Angle, or to join Kurt Angle's alliance instead. And guess what? That whole thing was designed for AJ to get his reps among the main eventers, without pretending that he is one of them, but letting the fans see just how good he really is in slow incremental bursts. And when it's time to freaking get him ready for that, okay, you've officially now hit something to where he's going to have a character breaking point, to where he's going to get sick of everybody's bullshit, and he's going to actually stand up and start beating people. And that's exactly what happened. He beat Kurt Angle like how many freaking times in a row? He got in the main event. He got in the world title with Sting. He got into the freaking King of the Mountain main event world title match without being a lackey to anybody this time. And he ended up winning the championship at the end of 2009. Being the guy who carried the championship into Hogan TNA in 2010. It was all a story about this guy coming to his own as a competitor. Coming into his own as a man. Among the sharks of the main event scene that had just freaking plowed into TNA after Spike TV fucking picked him up. And now he was truly the phenomenal AJ Styles. That's what his stories are all about. Into Hogan TNA, he kind of got pushed out because of the guys that Hulk and Eric and Dixie and them wanted to bring in and like the big names that they were pushing up. And what happened? Fortune happened. And Fortune was basically 4 fucking guys, 4, 5, 6, how many guys who were part of the TNA Originals core, or at least were part of either they were TNA Originals, or they were the kind of guys that TNA was built to give opportunities to. And they aligned with Rick because they didn't want Hulk Hogan to sideline them and to push them to the side in the company that they built. Ended up being where they fought against EV 2.0. They, for a brief period of time, joined with Hulk Hogan and his Conspiracy Immortal. But then when y'all ran out of a fucking faction Immortal to fight, y'all the second best idea in their minds was the common sense. Fortune shouldn't be with these guys, so Fortune fucking turns face. Stories after that. AJ Styles and his fucking homies, Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, they turn on AJ and they try to ruin his life. They succeed in kind of giving him a darker and kind of putting him down in the dumps to where he ends up ultimately taking on a darker and grittier persona just to freaking get back on his feet. And the boyish Brian Krause's brother, AJ Styles, is dead In comes the new freaking harder edge man with a beard and now soccer mom hair. That shit grew out over the years. Basically Bullet Club AJ Styles. But at the time it was a lone wolf because the Bullet Club wasn't in the same company as him until he left TNA. Point is, AJ Styles was never a character whose foundational focus was about him being a redneck. But that theme song was a 50-second, not even, it would be impressive if it was fucking 50 minutes, that theme song that WWE gave him was a 50-second bop with very minimal bars, very low energy compared to the music that he's used in the past. And the entire focus of that song was about him being a redneck. It might as well have been a fucking FTR rap theme. And guess what? It turns out that shit was originally made for the Tennessee Cowboy James Storm when he was flirting with coming to WWE. But they just repurposed it for AJ because Storm ultimately decided to stick with TNA. And AJ is the one who ended up coming to WWE, so they just repurposed it for him. But they didn't actually change what it was about, the theme of it. Fucking redneck rap. It was a redneck anthem. That's not AJ Styles' character, bro. He's from the South. He does call himself a redneck, but he's more than that. Being a redneck was never the central core of who AJ Styles was, but that was the central core of the fucking song they gave him. They didn't even put enough effort into it for it to be able to last a minute without looping. At least if you take out the intro. But y'all want to act like that shit was such a fucking bop. Y'all want to act like that shit was such a bit. Y'all want to act like that shit that CFOs gave AJ Styles that he's been running with for 8 years was anywhere near the fucking level of fucking Jim Johnston and the shit that he would have done for AJ. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Get out of here. It was nowhere near the fucking level. Oh, it's such a bop. It's such a banger. It's such a great theme song. Okay, great. All right, let me ask you a question. The two freaking redeeming qualities of that theme song, in my opinion, of CFO's phenomenal for AJ Styles as a theme for AJ, the two redeeming qualities were the fucking hot blast sound effects and the catchy ass hook. They don't want none. They don't want none. No, they don't want none. They looking scared. No, they don't really want. That was literally it. Those are literally the only two fucking saving graces of that theme song. But guess what the fuck happens when it comes time to actually, when we're basically in the sing-along era where anything that's like remotely catchy when it comes to wrestlers' theme songs, whether it's actually part of the theme song or not, we'll find a way to fucking sing along to it. Shinsuke Nakamura's fucking Rising Sun, they found a way to sing along to it. Seth Rollins' Visionary, made by Def Rebel, they found a way to sing along to it. Shinsuke's shit was made by CFOs. So right there, I'm already telling you that this shit, that both of these fucking groups have done good shit and both of these fucking groups have done terrible shit. Do I even need to bring up how many times they freaking Solomon crowed the shit? I freaking gave you examples of freaking songs that have no right to be treated as anything better than Solomon Crow's theme when I was talking about freaking Gargano and Ciampa and them. But because they were catchy enough and freaking NXT is small enough fucking entrance ramps, at least back then. Actually, not even at least back then. It's even smaller now. But because NXT at Full Sail University has freaking small enough entrance ways and small enough stages and arenas to where they're not taking a long time in their fucking entrance, they can get by with fucking lazy ass effort like that with NXT. But when you fucking had guys hitting the main roster, you needed the Jim Johnston standard, then these motherfuckers fell right off the fucking cliff when it came to that. And Def Rebel, disproves my point, I'm not fucking nut hugging them. They didn't exactly pick the whole shit back up the way that it needed to. They started to in the beginning, but then they got lazier. And now we're where we at. And now people are finally waking up and realizing that the standard done fell off, but they're doing it. But they're doing it wrong. They're pretending that that the fall off just happened over the past couple of years. Nah, it ain't been the past couple of years. It's been the past 10 motherfucking years. And AJ Styles is hardly the fucking trigger point if we actually acting with common sense. If we not reacting with if we not just being emotional and reactionary with bullshit. Okay, we've seen them make enough fucking theme songs that are not distinct, that a fucking Royal Rumble it's not drawing instant pops. They're freaking doing way too many freaking author signatures where freaking a quote that has to tell you who the fucking guy is the first thing you have to hear. Okay, I get that. I'm not over here pretending these cats are perfect, but let's not pretend the other motherfuckers that came before them are perfect either. Okay? They're not. Absolutely not. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the fact, going back to AJ Styles, I'm looking at the fact that y'all over here, y'all accepted a huge ass drop. A huge drop in quality from his pre-WWE stuff to his CFOs. Just fine. Just fine. Y'all accepted it just fine, and now y'all even convinced yourself that it's fucking great music. But even though we're basically in the theme song sing-along era, that I've never once heard. I have never in my life once heard a single WWE crowd actively chant, "They don't want none, they don't want none, they don't want none, they don't want none," in support of AJ Styles. It's never once happened, even though we're now in the sing-along era. But now that shit's been replaced, now y'all want to pretend. And I'm saying pretend because that's what it feels like. Now y'all want to pretend. And it's annoying as fuck to hear these people who in any normal circumstances fully admit that cheering for people to lose their jobs is not good. It's not a good thing. But Def Rebel, they are so bad on theme music that we want them fired immediately. And you know for damn fact that part of that mentality is influenced by the AI Def Rebel music meme, where you got certain people freaking having AIs create so-called theme music for WWE superstars and then say that this is what it would sound like if Def Rebel made it, or this is what it sound like if Def Rebel upbooted it, or this theme song has been Def Rebel, or Def Rebel made this, or this their new theme by Def Rebel parentheses real. And it's like, it's not. It's a joke that overly exaggerates and embellishes how far down Def Rebel is from Jim Johnston. And here's the funny ass thing about it. Here's the funny ass thing when I bring up Jim Johnston again, because here's the funny thing. I am not opposed to saying that we need better when it comes to WWE entrance music composition. I am entirely opposed to the approach that pretends that the problem just happened over the last 2 years, or over the last year and a half, or over the last 6 months, or that the problem is only because of Def Rebel, or that all we need to do is fire Def Rebel and this shit will be better automatically. Okay, by how much? By how much? By how much is it going to be better? Because if it's by the amount that CFOs would have made, first off, CFOs is never coming back because their freaking publicist is a greedy son of a bitch and pretty much ruined entire business. And now they're both in IT and they're not doing music anymore, at least not on a major commercial basis. Second of all, even if you did get them back, I just freaking pointed out, their shit isn't going to fucking pass muster the way that you think it is. If you get them back, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we're all pretending that everything they fucking churn out is a banger after banger after banger for like a year. And then after that, like the whole nostalgia is going to wear off and people are going to feel like, did things really improve that much? No, that's going to be the problem. You see, everybody's over here looking at this whole Def Rebel thing and saying that they're getting ready to freaking celebrate when these guys' contract runs out. But y'all are forgetting that there's a very critical question, because getting rid of Def Rebel means who's next? Who steps up to take that spot? CFOs is not coming back, and even if they were, like I said, they're not an improvement. Jim Johnston has even said that he's not likely to come back, even though the approach of the bring back Jim Johnston hashtag is exactly what I want, because I'm about to explain why. So you're not likely to get CFOs is guaranteed you're not getting them back. You're not even likely to actually get back Jim Johnston. Who replaces Def Rebel? Who replaces Def Rebel? Who takes their spot? Who comes into that position? That's a very, very critical question. Nobody wants to freaking answer it. Here's why it's a critical question. If the next team that comes in doesn't take the directives of the Jim Johnston standard, and do theme songs on a regular basis that are as good as what he did, if we're back to the same fucking situation where some lazy habit or another creeps in and annoys the living shit out of people, like CFOs with their refusal to actually put to fill out their actual songs, and Def Rebel and their inability to actually make it distinct, to really make everything as distinct as it needed to be in terms of like, you can hear this and immediately upon the first 5 seconds without a freaking signature quote needed, you just hear the sound and this type of music and you immediately know who it is. The fact that Def Rebel couldn't do that, is not that good at that on a regular basis, and the fact that CFOs is not that good at actually fucking making their shit more of a full track, or have an actual flow to it, or not basically command a wrestler to be in a certain spot during a certain point in the music 3, 4, 5 different fucking times. That's the main thing that annoys me about Finn Balor's fucking CFO's theme, is that like every 30 or 40 seconds he had to be in this spot, like exactly in this spot during exactly at this point of the music. It was annoying to me. Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't need his theme song to command him like that. The Rock didn't need his theme song to command him like that. The Undertaker didn't need his theme song to command him like that. Triple H didn't need his theme song to command him like that. Kane didn't need his theme song to command him like that. The Big Show didn't need his theme song to command him like that. Did I say Kurt Angle or Chris Jericho yet? Because they didn't need their theme songs to command them like that. And even if you look in fucking TNA, AJ Styles didn't need his theme song to command him to be in a certain spot 3 or 4 different times. Christian Cage, he didn't need it, neither in WWE nor in TNA. None of the shit that Jim Johnston or Dave Oliver gave him ever needed to command him to be in a certain position at a certain point of the music 3 or 4 different fucking times. Never needed to fucking happen with him. Edge never needed that to happen with him. For him to be commanded multiple times by the music to be in this certain spot at this certain point at this certain time. Nah, cats were allowed to actually have a flow. Cats were allowed to flow. The music was allowed to flow. People were allowed to fucking breathe. Every entrance was not guaranteed to look exactly the fucking same, even though it was literally the same motions that they were going through, because depending on freaking moods and characters and time and what point in the story or what you're doing, you were going to be doing different shit. There's going to be subtle changes. There's going to be subtle little differences in the way that you come out one week versus how you come out next week, even though it's the exact same entrance. But fucking Finn Balor's fucking theme commanded him to be in one of the exact same spots, to do the exact same pose at the exact same point in the music multiple times. Didn't like it. And yes, it fucking sounds epic when he's doing it as the Demon King. But when he's doing it as freaking leather jacket Prince Devitt Finn Balor, no. We don't need that. It's overdone. But this is me freaking hitting on my points now. People are freaking playing other music outside for my freaking hood. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make is we accepted a massive fucking drop-off. Going back to AJ, we accepted a massive drop-off between his pre-WWE stuff and CFO's Phenomenal, and even now pretending that it's actually a phenomenal song. But a song that, but this freaking shit that Def Rebel gave him, it's actually in some ways an improvement, an objective. If you're looking at it objectively speaking, if you're not looking at it like, oh, this WWE, this is what he's had for 8 years and I freaking learned to love the freaking bop and the chorus and the sounds. No. Intro aside, because I will agree with this. The intro for the first new song is empty as fuck. The intro for his new song is empty as fuck. I'll fully agree with that. But the lyrics are more about, or while they don't sound a lot smarter, the lyrics that Stevie Stone raps for his new theme, You Don't Want None, they don't sound a lot smarter, but there's more of an attempt to actually, but first off, the beat, while incomplete, the dubstep beat, while incomplete and undercooked, I will definitely agree with that. It's undercooked, but it definitely tries to breathe, to actually have more energy in life. And while the lyrics don't exactly sound that much smarter, Stevie Stone raps it out with a fucking swagger that, again, puts more energy and life into it. And B, is the lyrics themselves actually are more of, they're actually trying to put over the ultra competitor, the gritty ultra competitor who's freaking ready to run circles around you, AJ Styles, and who's really to basically go through anything that you could put him through. The ultra competitor side of AJ Styles, which is actually the central core of his character in TNA, in New Japan, and in WWE. The lyrics actually try to go with that, instead of just being all about him being a redneck the way the fucking CFO shit was, which, let's not fucking pretend that was Shakespearean writing. It wasn't. It was trash. You want to say that the fucking that his current lyrics from Stevie Stone's song is super simplistic? So is the other one, but the other one wasn't even about AJ. It was about any random country boy. AJ just happened to be one. This was more about AJ. So I'm straight up saying that the new song is an improvement. And I know part of it is colored by my emotional bias with the fact that I've wanted him to fucking get rid of Phenomenal ever since the first, to either adapt it to have more energy and more fucking content that's about AJ Styles, not just about any random redneck, or merge it and mash it up with fucking Evil Ways, the song that he used in TNA for a cup of coffee, or just straight up get rid of it. Now he's gotten rid of it. I'm freaking stoked. And I'm actually trying to embrace the freaking new song, incompletions and all, warts and all. But the same new song that is basically giving me what I've been asking more for the last 8 years of listening to AJ Styles come out to redneck bullshit. This is what people want these people fired over. That's the shit that annoyed the living shit out of me. And I know I'm over here spitting for like 36, 37. This is way longer than I intended it to be. But this is still a freaking good cutoff point. Because now I'm about to actually go into the actual main thing of what I'm fully trying to say here. If we want to get a higher standard of WWE entrance theme music, Fire Death Rebel is not the proper hashtag. Bring Back Jim Johnston is the proper hashtag. You don't want the hashtag that just gives you the impression that you just hate these guys and as soon as you get rid of them, everything is going to be all hunky-dory. No. You want to give the impression that you fucking understand that theme music has fallen off for the last 10 fucking years. And that regardless of who's in that position, whether it's a Def Rebel, whether it's a CFOs, whether it's whoever the fucking next guys coming up after Def Rebel are going to be, whether it's people handpicked by Jim Johnston himself, whether it's your fucking ass, whether it's Triple H, whether it's some of these fucking fan music creators on YouTube who've done excellent like covers and remixes of WWE themes over the years, whoever the fuck they hire to put in that position, you better have the directives that Jim Johnston had that made the shit that he came up with legendary and memorable. You better have the directives that the character comes first. The actual character, the wrestler, who they are, what they're about, what they're bringing to the table, the vibe that they're looking for in their entrance, what they're doing in their entrance, what they do in the ring, how they talk in their everything. The character, the wrestler, is the first thing that should be coming to mind when you're thinking about what theme songs you're building for these people, not what fucking genre you're most comfortable with. That's the first directive of Jim Johnston that sets him apart from what CFOs and Def Rebel fucking did over the past 10 years. The second directive, when you're looping shit, create little wrinkles in between each loop so that it doesn't feel completely 100% repetitive. I talk about all these themes of the legends that Jim worked with. There was always either an extra chord or a missing chord. There was always either an extra sound or a missing sound, an extra chant or choir or a vocal choir or a missing one, an extra bell or a missing bell. There was always a little bit difference between the second or third loop of a song and the first one when Jim Johnston was working. That made it feel like, okay, we understand that people are going to freaking hear this and play this for themselves. We understand that that these songs are going to be played at WrestleMania, that these songs are being played to close out shows. We understand that that these are all possibilities, and in some cases inevitabilities of what's going to happen with this music. So it's not just about the freaking 40 or 45 or 50 seconds that we know they're going to come out with. Nah, you have to do more. And speaking of you have to do more, if you're going to make the song have full standing lyrics, actually do a full fucking song. I don't care if it's like 2.5 minutes, 150, 330, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Actually do a full fucking song. So that we're not just looping the same set of lyrics over 30 to 45 to 50 seconds over and over and over and over again. It's been the exact same fucking deal. From No One Will Survive to Damage Control's themes. This shit should sound epic, but it stops and repeats itself. Or it has no flow to it. It's been the problem with both of these fucking bands. To where at least half the fucking shit I like from them, I have to freaking remix it somehow to freaking play it for myself personally. And that actually brings me to my ultimate point of what I actually want to get across here. I'm not just freaking talking out of my ass when I say that these cats, that these improvements have been needed for fucking 10 years. I'm going to actually try to do kind of a music theory type of freaking set of videos where I go through certain songs, or certain theme songs, and I'm like, okay, this could have been better by doing this, by adding this, or by being less loopy in this direction, or by combining this with this little thing that you did earlier, or things of that nature. I could basically editing and combining shit to sound more complete. I can I can pinpoint and express, okay, this needed more. This needed more, and this is an example of how I think it would probably sound if it had more. I'm going to be doing this with CFO's themes. I'm going to be doing this with Def Rebel themes. I doubt that I'm going to need to do it with Jim Johnston themes, but if I have to in order to prove the point, I guess I'll do that too. Because it would most likely be fucking mid-card shit, because his main event themes were always on point, for the most part. Actually, not even for the most part. I'm going to go ahead and say his main event shit was generally always on point. But I've pretty much gone on long enough, and I think I've made my point. I don't know when I'm going to start with this series, but I've already had in my head, okay, this is one of the ones that needs to be in part of this. This needs to be part of this. I've had songs. I've pretty much given you guys clues on which ones I'm probably going to freaking touch with this series and be like, okay, this needed this improvement, or this needed this improvement, or this needed this extension, or this needed this extension. And neither CFOs nor Def Rebel are safe. Point made. I think I've said my piece. That's it. That's all I got. Ladies and gentlemen, hang tight, stay gold, have fun.